The Bennett family decided to spend the weekend at their secluded countryside house, a place that had always been a refuge of peace and tranquility. Marta, their lawyer daughter, chose to stay behind and get ahead on her work, while her parents, Susan and Mike, went to town to fetch supplies. The silence, which was supposed to be comforting, began to feel menacing, as if something hidden was lurking. Alone with her loyal Rottweiler, Thor, Marta prepared for a night that would quickly turn into a nightmare. This is the story of a young woman and her faithful dog who encountered the unknown. And you, would you have the courage to face what's coming? Before continuing, I just want to ask you to check if you're already subscribed to the channel so you can receive the most heartwarming dog stories that will touch your heart. Join our family of dog lovers. The Bennett family's country house always had a special charm, where time seemed to slow down and the worries of the world dissipated with the gentle breeze that danced through the fields. On that Friday morning, the sun timidly rose on the horizon, promising a weekend of serenity. Marta Bennett, a dedicated lawyer and only child, decided to take the opportunity to focus on her important cases, while her parents went to the city to get supplies. The family's Rottweiler, a strong and loyal dog named Thor, had seemed restless since the beginning of the day. He refused to accompany her parents, preferring to stay by Marta's side, as if sensing that his presence was needed. Marta, engrossed in her papers and notes, didn't pay much attention to the dog's behavior, attributing it to his usual protective nature. As the afternoon wore on, the silence of the countryside, usually comforting, began to feel heavier and more oppressive. The wind rustling through the trees carried sounds that resembled whispers, and for a brief moment, Marta felt a chill run down her spine. She dismissed the sensation, convinced it was just her imagination playing tricks on her. However, as night began to fall and her parents still hadn't returned, a pang of worry started to grow in her chest. Thor, ever vigilant, stayed by her side, his eyes fixed on the door, as if expecting something. What was meant to be a peaceful weekend of quiet work was about to turn into a night of mystery and tension. Marta tried to calm down, but the feeling that something was wrong wouldn't go away. The dog, always so calm and happy, now seemed to be on high alert. Every time a strange sound came from outside, he would raise his head and growl softly. Marta knew that Thor was more than just a pet. He was a true friend and protector. As the wind rattled the windows and the darkness deepened, she wondered if she could face what was to come alone, relying only on the courage of her loyal companion. The clock on the wall seemed to tick off each second with agonizing slowness. Marta tried to concentrate on her work, but her thoughts were constantly interrupted by the growing feeling of discomfort. Every creak from the house, every shadow cast by the dim candlelight seemed to amplify her anxiety. The storm outside increased the isolation, as if nature itself was conspiring to intensify their fear. She knew she needed to stand her ground, but tension and fear were beginning to dominate her thoughts. Quick pause. I noticed you haven't liked this video yet. It's really important for YouTube to keep showing you more of our heartwarming dog stories. If you're enjoying it, please give it a like. It's free. Thanks. Continuing. After her parents left, Marta was alone in the house, surrounded by the vast, silent countryside. She settled at the dining table, spreading out her documents and powering up her laptop, determined to take advantage of the quiet to finish her work. The silence, initially comforting, provided the focus she needed, while Thor, her loyal Rottweiler, rested at her feet. The house, with its weathered wooden walls and wide windows, enveloped Marta in an almost magical calm. However, as the hours passed, small noises began to interrupt the tranquility. Creaking of a board, the rustling of leaves outside. She tried to ignore any feelings of unease, convinced they were just the natural sounds of an old house. But Thor's constant vigilance, always alert, made her wonder if there was more to that silence than she was willing to acknowledge. From the moment Marta's parents left, Thor had shown signs of unease. Unlike his usual runs through the fields, he refused to go out with Mike and Susan, preferring to stay by Marta's side. His watchful eyes scanned every corner of the house, and his ears perked up at the slightest sound from outside. Marta, though focused on her work, couldn't help but notice Thor's vigilant posture. On more than one occasion he growled softly, a guttural sound that reverberated through the room, directed at something unseen outside. Marta tried to calm him, attributing his behavior to some wild animal that might be prowling around the property. However, Thor's persistence in staying alert, as if sensing an imminent danger, began to unsettle Marta. She knew her dog was more than just a companion. He was a true guardian, and his instincts were almost always infallible. As twilight turned into darkness, the Bennett family's house sank into a deep silence, interrupted only by unsettling sounds from outside. Marta, trying to focus on her work, couldn't ignore the distant snapping of branches, as if something was moving stealthily among the trees. Have you ever been in a situation where you had to trust your instincts to face the unknown? Share your experience in the comments. Let's discuss it. Thor, ever vigilant, rose to his feet beside Marta, his ears perked up, catching every noise. Muffled footsteps seemed to circle the house, accompanied by a dragging sound that made the wood creak. Chill ran down Marta's spine, feeling that she wasn't as alone as she thought. She tried to rationalize it, but the tension in the air was palpable, and Thor's behavior suggested something sinister. Night fell quickly, bringing with it a storm that obscured the stars, casting the landscape into shadow. The first raindrops turned into a torrential downpour, and the wind howled, bending the trees. The claustrophobic atmosphere intensified the isolation, transforming the peaceful night into a scene of suspense and apprehension. As the hours dragged on, the prolonged absence of her parents weighed heavily on Marta, casting a growing shadow of worry. The clock seemed to mark time with torturous slowness, and the storm outside heightened her anxiety. Mike and Susan had been gone for a long time, and Marta tried to concentrate, but her mind wandered to alarming scenarios. Thor, sensing his owner's unease, stayed close, his protective instincts evident. The feeling of isolation intensified, and Marta couldn't shake the idea that something was terribly wrong. Suddenly, the house plunged into complete darkness, the lights flickering before going out. The storm outside seemed to celebrate the new darkness, and Marta, with a racing heart, fumbled for her phone. Thor let out a low growl, as if sensing that the darkness brought more than just the absence of light. The power outage, combined with the inexplicable delay of her parents, heightened her vulnerability. Marta needed to stay calm. The darkness felt alive, filled with hidden secrets and invisible threats. When was the last time your dog displayed a behavior that left you intrigued or concerned? Share your experience in the comments. I've been through it too, and I'd like to understand more about why dogs act this way. Seeking help, Marta grabbed the landline phone, but was met with disturbing silence. The line was dead. The wires had been cut. The sight of the damaged cables sent a chilling panic through her body. It wasn't just the storm that was isolating her. There was a malicious presence. Looking out the window, she saw indistinct shapes moving outside, and Thor began to growl, his eyes fixed on the darkness. The sound of heavy footsteps approaching became unmistakable. The tension reached its peak when someone began to force the entry. With Thor by her side, Marta knew she needed to act, determined to confront whatever was coming. At the height of the tension, when Marta and Thor were ready to face the unknown, the distant sound of sirens cut through the air, bringing an unexpected wave of relief. The neighbor, noticing the suspicious activity around the house, called the police. The red and blue lights of the patrol cars illuminated the darkness, dispersing the threatening shadows surrounding the house. The intruders, realizing the authorities were arriving, vanished into the night, leaving behind only the echo of their hurried footsteps. As Marta explained the situation to the police, Thor stayed by her side, still vigilant. The presence of the officers brought a sense of security that she hadn't felt in hours, and, as if the relief couldn't be greater, her parents, Mike and Susan, arrived by dawn, exhausted but safe, carrying the groceries they had struggled to obtain due to the storm. As the sound of sirens faded into the background and officers began to inspect the surroundings, Marta felt a wave of gratitude mixed with relief. The cold of the night and the tension accumulated over the hours began to dissipate, giving way to a feeling of renewed hope. Every comforting look from Thor and every supportive word from the officers helped dispel the fear that had gripped her. She found herself staring at the rain that was now falling gently, almost as if washing away the night's panic and bringing a new beginning. The presence of the police officers not only ensured the safety of their home, but also brought a feeling that despite the challenges, the community and the loyalty of a good friend could face any adversity. The reunion was marked by tight hugs and sighs of relief. Marta couldn't help but mentally thank her neighbor, and especially her loyal Rottweiler, whose courage and loyalty had been her rock throughout the ordeal. With the storm finally subsiding and a sense of security returning, the Bennett family realized that, despite the fear and uncertainty, they had faced the unknown together. That experience strengthened their bond, becoming a lasting reminder that even in the darkest nights, courage and friendship always shine like lights, never go out. Get ready to be moved by the story of Chuck the dog and his owner. Sometimes fate tests our courage in ways we never imagined, and it's in those moments that we discover the strength within us. Click on the card. Thank you for watching until the end. If you were touched by this story, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next videos and become part of our family of dog lovers.